At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality bikes, which might lead to another discovery. Getting back on the saddle isn't always comfortable. Good news is Sierra has massage guns. And chafe wipes, too. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Get your holidays started with the perfect tree in your perfect style from the Home Depot. Whether you want something that you can assemble in a few clicks, steal the show with over 2,000 color-changing bulbs, or a tree with lights that can be controlled by remote or foot pedal. The Home Depot has it all in our huge assortment of premium trees. Plus, get free delivery on over 2 million items this holiday from the Home Depot. Subject to availability, see homedepot.com/delivery for details.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC on a Wednesday on which Liverpool travel to Brighton to take on the Seagulls in the EFL Cup. That is a 7:30 kickoff tonight and represents an opportunity, I think, for Arne Slot to rest players. Really and truly, this is the one competition we should be punting on. This is the one game of this run where Arne should not really be taking any chances with players like Virgil, like Ibu, like Alexis McAllister, like Trent, and like Mo Salah. None of them really should be playing tonight if we have the players available to make it so. We are obviously in a situation with our goalkeeper where Alisson is not there, so Queven Kelleher is playing league games and Champions League games. Otherwise, he would be the cup goalkeeper, with Kelleher currently playing the starting role. This might be one where you take a look at Yaros and give him the opportunity. Conor Bradley is back in training. Now, whether or not he's ready to play or not is a different matter. If he's not ready to play, it means one of Trent and Virgil's going to have to play. Because Gomez can only cover one of those positions. Ideally, I think you'd be lining up tonight with Bradley right back, Costas left back, Gomez and Kwanzaa in the middle. But if Bradley's not ready, then Gomez would be the only other right back, unless you want to bring up somebody from the academy, but I don't think there's anybody who's ready. You could potentially play Curtis Jones there if you just wanted to give Trent the rest and make sure both centre-backs are wrapped in cotton wool. In midfield, I think Curtis will start either way. I'd like to see Endo start, and I'd like to see Tyler Morton start. I don't really want to see Alexis. I think Gravenberch is going to need a rest. He didn't have a particularly good game against Arsenal and looks leggy. And it might just be an ideal game to give him a rest and then have him fresh for the weekend against the same opponents. In attack, obviously, we are a little bit short-handed. Diogo Jota seemingly now not back until after the November international break. There is the ongoing situation with Federico Chiesa, who's, according to Arne Slot, he's in and out of training. So Arne said yesterday, I'm not expecting him to be in the squad. Sometimes he's there with us for training for a few days, and then he goes out with injury again. So I don't want to put days or weeks on it because I don't want to put any pressure on him, which is all fair. And then obviously Harvey is still out and not expected back until after the international break. So what's that leaving with us in attack? Diaz and Cody, I guess, both start. And Arne has said, obviously, Liverpool will be without the most logical number 9s for this game, but other options exist. So Jota obviously out. Chiesa could have played there if he was fit. And you could have gone Diaz right, Chiesa to the middle, and Cody on the left. You could have gone Chiesa right, Cody to the middle, Diaz on the left. Now, Darwin is obviously fit, but maybe you don't want to risk him. Now, you could. I mean, you could go Diaz right, Darwin to the middle, Cody off the left, and maybe that is something he'll look at. I think it's a decent front three for sure. The problem is when you don't have any depth behind them, other than Mo's going to be sat there on the touchline, and at some point he's going to be brought on because one of the others will have to come off because Arne's not going to want to give them all 95 minutes. Which means Mo is going to come on, which kind of defeats the purpose of giving players the rest they need. So we're likely in a situation where 2 of the 5 players that you would say really need rest, really need to be left out of this game, that we really can't do without. Again, Virgil, Ibu, Trent, Alexis, and Mo. At least 2 of them are probably going to have to play a decent enough role in this game, which is just a little bit frustrating. Now, our injury situation is not terrible by any stretch of the imagination. Like, when you compare it up and down the league, we're in pretty good shape. And we know that Ali is expected back after the international break. So is Jota, so is Harvey. Conor Bradley could be back now. And Chiesa, I mean, there's no real timeline, like Arne has said. It's just a wait-and-see kind of game. So it's not like we've got anybody out long-term. It's not like we've got one position in particular that's just battered, like we've had in the past when the midfield was all broken down, when the centre-backs were all broken. We don't have that sort of situation, but it is just a little frustrating at the moment. Now, there's only 4 more games between now and the international break, and one of them is this one. So throw this game away. And that leaves us with 3 games, all of which, by the way, are at home. And then we go on the break, and then we come back, and it's Southampton. And hopefully Ali, Jota, Harvey, and maybe Chiesa are all ready to go by then. Now, we'll likely pick up 1 or 2 more knocks in the interim. But this is a favourable enough run for us, even if they're tough opponents. Brighton in the league will be a tough opponent. No question about it. It will be tough this Saturday. Leverkusen will be tough. They're not as good as they were last year, and I do think they're very beatable, but they're going to be tough. But again, it's at home. And then obviously the Villa game, which is a weird 8 o'clock game on a Saturday night. They're good. They're really good. But again, we should be beating them at home. These are games we should win. Tonight is the game that you would say, just bin it off. Don't worry about it. Forget about this one and go and win the next 3 and go into the international break in a really strong position with 12 points in the Champions League. Even if it was 10, that'd be a great position to go into the break with halfway through our group phase and win the 2 league games and put pressure back onto City. Because, as we look at it, we currently sit second in the league. That's why I can no longer introduce the show reminding you that the Reds are top of the league. But the gap is only 1 point. And then it's 4 points to everybody else. So if we can win our last two, it would maintain a 4-point lead over Arsenal. It would create at least a 7-point lead over Villa. It would maintain at least a 5-point lead over Chelsea. And it would create at least a 9-point lead over 6th place Brighton. And, when we look at City, they play Spurs tonight. Forget about that one. But in the league, they've got to go away to Bournemouth, who've beaten Arsenal and gotten a draw away to Villa. Then they've got a Champions League game away to Sporting. And then it's Brighton away, which, will be tough enough. Now, Brighton's defence is not particularly good. You would expect City to win both of those games. So City would go into the break with 29 points. We want to be going into that break with 28. We do not want to allow City to create any type of daylight between them and us. The primary reason is they look like a team that is going to have a slip-up at some point. They don't look the same as they have in previous years. The loss of Rodri is enormous. It's the same as if we lost Virgil. That's how good and how important he is. It doesn't matter who you're bringing in to replace him. They've got good midfielders in Kovacic and Nunez and players like that. None of them are Rodri, in the same way that, when Virgil tore his ACL, we could bring in Joe Gomez, Joe Matip, we could drop Fabinho back there. They were all very good. None of them were anywhere close to Virgil. And if you think back to that year, we managed to patch it together up until Christmas. We were top a couple of days before Christmas. And then we fell apart. Now, we got some more injuries along the way, but who's saying they won't? Who's saying Erling Haaland won't miss 6 weeks, as he has done multiple times in the past? City are one more injury to a vital component away from potentially a rough spell. And we want to make sure we're the team ready to step in and take over at the top of the league. So we don't want to leave gaps to City. We don't want to leave it so that we go into a weekend, City draw or lose, and we don't go top with a win. We don't want that kind of situation. We want it so that if they drop points, we're right there to take that top spot and push on from there. This is Anfield today. Kostas Simikas has given some comments regarding the contract situations of Mo, of Virgil, and of Trent, saying the guys who leave, we will miss. Stating the obvious, but sometimes the obvious needs to be stated. We will miss them. Like, if any of them leave, they will be enormous losses to the club. They'd be enormous losses to any club. They're the best players in the world in their respective positions. It is growingly annoying and growingly frustrating that we are still in this same situation where none of them have been tied down to new contracts. Jamie Carragher said at the weekend his belief is that Virgil and Mo will stay, but he now thinks that Trent may well go. And obviously, a lot was made over the interview Trent did, where he was asked whether he'd rather win the World Cup, the Champions League, or the Balon d'Or. He said the Balon d'Or, and people took that to mean, oh, well, that means he wants to go to Real Madrid because, you go to Real Madrid to win the Balon d'Or. But Rodri just won the Balon d'Or playing for Manchester City. The reason the Balon d'Or has largely gone to Real Madrid and Barcelona players over recent years is that Lionel Messi was at Barcelona and Cristiano Ronaldo was at Real Madrid. Now, obviously, there was also a Balon d'Or given to Luka Modric of Real Madrid, but that was entirely given to him based on what he'd done at international level. Now, Real had a very good season the year before, but nobody was marking Luka Modric down as the best player in that Real team. He wasn't even the best midfielder in that Real team. That was, of course, Toni Kroos. So he won it based on what he did at the international level. If you look at the other two options for Trent, one was the World Cup, which is obviously going to be won with the international team. Given how England has treated Trent, given how the media and the fans of England have treated Trent and disparaged Trent over the years, I could see why he wouldn't view the World Cup or winning the World Cup as his highest priority. Could see that very easily. But, this idea that Trent should have said that or the Champions League, he's already won the Champions League. And it was Jamie Carragher saying, oh, well, normally people would pick one or the other. Well, he's already won the Champions League, Jamie. He hasn't won the Balon d'Or. He wants to be the first fullback to win the Balon d'Or. And as for winning the World Cup, you yourself were quite open about the fact that England never meant nearly as much to you as Liverpool did. Why wouldn't it be the same for Trent, another local lad who's from a city that has been disparaged by the general population his entire life? His parents lived in Liverpool when the British government were putting the city into a managed decline. He grew up with that knowledge. He grew up with that Scouse, not English mentality. So why would he prioritise a World Cup? And again, he's already won a Champions League. Now, it would be incredible to win another one, and I'm sure he wants to win another one. But if you've already done something, and there's something else that you haven't done, that would be an even rarer accomplishment, a bigger accomplishment from a personal point of view, and a historic accomplishment from a positional point of view. If you're truly ambitious, you will take on the task of doing the thing that's never been done before, not the thing that's been done by lots of people and that you've already done. So if we look back, let's say, over the years for the Balon d'Or, right? And this notion that you have to be at one or the other. So there's obviously the Messi run where he wins 4 in a row. Then Cristiano wins 2, Messi wins another, Cristiano wins 2 more. Then it's Modric, then it's Messi again. Then it's Benzema. That 2022 season was really weird. Really weird. But Benzema was incredible. And when you look at the top 3, it's Sadio Mane, number 2. Sadio had a pretty weird season that year. Half a season with us, where he was poor, then he moved centrally and he was good again. Obviously won the AFCON and went to Bayern and was in the midst of flopping while being voted second in the Ballon d'Or. Kevin De Bruyne was third. The year before, Jorginho was second. Again, a lot to do with international level, but he was at Chelsea at the time. Not like he was at Real or Barca. You look back, Virgil finished second playing with us. Again, Rodri's won it this year. But if we go back to the era before Cristiano and Lionel Messi took over, multiple players won it playing for AC Milan, for Juventus. Michael Owen won it playing for us. Juventus, Inter Milan, Borussia Dortmund, AC Milan, Juve, AC Milan, Marseille. It's not just about Real or Barca. That's just because of what's happened recently. You look back prior to that, Figo won it for Real and R9 won it for Real. Ronaldinho won it for Barca, but it's not like a thing that they were dominating it on a regular basis. Now, of course, Vinicius is going to win one at some point, though I'd imagine after the temper tantrum that he's had over this one, there will be people that will be put off from voting for him.
Hey, true crime fans. Tired of ads interrupting your gripping investigations? Good news. With Amazon Music, you have access to the largest catalog of ad-free top podcasts included with your Prime membership. After all, ads shouldn't be the scariest thing about true crime. To start listening, download the Amazon Music app for free or go to amazon.com/ad-free true crime. That's amazon.com/ad-free true crime to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.
Kylian Mbappe is going to win it at some point. A lot of people will look at Jude and say, well, Jude will win one, and maybe he will. But I would say those players, those individual players, could win a Balon d'Or playing elsewhere, and may even be more likely to win it playing elsewhere. Because you see, I think a lot of times with voters on stuff like this, you get a lot of voter fatigue, where people are just bored of voting for the same people year after year after year. And in truth, the reason Cristiano Ronaldo has as many Ballon d'Ors as he does is because people got bored of voting for Messi and continually started raising the bar for Messi to the point where he had to achieve otherworldly objectives. And no one else was measured against that. So there are multiple Ballon d'Ors that Cristiano has one, Luka Modric has one in his house, where Lionel Messi was the best player in the world that season, but he was being measured against a different scale. And people were just bored of voting for him. So they created these, in some cases, impossible to hit objectives for him. And no one else had to hit them. So even if Messi outperformed the others, well, they hit their lower objectives. Messi didn't hit his higher objectives. So even though he performed better than them, they weren't going to give him the award. The truth of it is, if Trent wants to win a Ballon d'Or, he's got more chance of winning it with us than he does at Real Madrid. Because if he goes to Real Madrid, he's going to be sharing a spotlight with Kylian Mbappe, with Vinicius Jr. and with Jude Bellingham. So it's not like he'll even have the English spotlight on Real Madrid. He'd only have half of it because Jude would have the other half. And Vinicius will have the Brazilian spotlight and Mbappe will have the French spotlight. And they'll take votes away from each other, making it harder for a Real Madrid player to win the Ballon d'Or. Again, in those years pre-Messi, Ronaldo, the only two Real players that won it for a long time were Figo and R9. And part of that was because the Galacticos took votes off each other. Raul would get votes, Roberto Carlos would get votes, Zidane would get votes. And even though Zidane was unquestionably the best player in the world in his spell at Real Madrid, he didn't win a Ballon d'Or playing for them. He won it playing for Juve. So I think if Trent wants to win a Ballon d'Or, he's got more chance with us. If we look at our own club and what we've seen achieved by Liverpool players, Virgil's second place finish, Mo should have been top three in 2018. And the fact that he wasn't was farcical. I don't think Trent is going to win a Ballon d'Or, to be clear. I think he's got more chance of a top three finish for us than he does for them. Especially, like, you look at Liverpool right now, our three best players are Mo, Virgil and Ali. Okay, but Ali's never going to win a Ballon d'Or because goalkeepers, other than Levi Ashen, never win the Ballon d'Or. But Mo and Virgil are not going to win another one. They're not going to win one at this point in their careers. They're just not. And as they age, and Trent continues to ascend, which we hope he will do as he's now entering the peak years of his career at 26, Trent will become our best player. And will still be a very, very, very good team. Maybe even a great team during that span. If he's the best player in a great team, he's got more opportunity to win a Balon d'Or rather than at Real, where realistically, his ceiling is probably third best player. Like, it's probably is the third best player behind Mbappe and Vinicius. Mbappe is the same age as him. Vinicius is a couple of years younger than him. He's probably going to be the third best player at best. And then there's the Jude factor, and so he could be the fourth best player. Camavinga might take the leap. He could be the fifth best player. So the chance of him winning it there become much smaller than it would with us. Now, look, Roy Keane was right in what he said. You know, he's accomplished everything at Liverpool. He's won everything other than the Europa League. So maybe a new challenge, a new culture, a new way of life, all the rest. Maybe that's what he wants. And that's fine. Like I've said before, that's fine. I don't have an issue with Trent wanting to go to Real Madrid. I have an issue with him going on a free. There's no question in my mind that if he had said to Liverpool at the start of the summer, I'm not going to re-sign, that Liverpool couldn't have gone to Real and said, look, let's just put a deal together here. Let's find a common ground and get you the player that you clearly want and get us a price that's fair based on who he is, what he's accomplished, and obviously taking into account he's only got 1 year left in this deal. Let's make something work here. And everybody can walk away happy. You get the player you want, the player gets the move he wants, and we get a fee. But that clearly didn't happen. And he does now run the risk of ending up as another McManaman or Owen rather than a Gerrard or even a Fowler. Like, Fowler left, but he's never perceived in a negative way because Robbie didn't want to leave. Robbie was pushed out the door. McManaman and Owen chose to leave and in the process blew up the legacies of this club. Even though, like, their academy lads who came through, gave everything, were unbelievably good for us. Unbelievably good. And yet, when we talk about great Liverpool players, people either don't bring them up, or when they do it with a facial expression that resembles someone that's just kind of got a nasty odor hitting their nostrils. Or a bad taste in their mouth. And it's such a shame. Especially McManaman. Because we were garbage for most of his time at the club without him. We were a good team with him. We were garbage without. We were a pretty good team for most of Owen's tenure at the club. Pretty good. Again, they were great for us. Absolutely incredible. But they're not held in the same esteem. And Carragher highlighted this. Gerrard is held up above the other two, in part because he stayed. But if Gerrard went to Chelsea in 2005, which he was going to do, his name would not be spoken in the same way as it is. Even though he'd have won us that Champions League, if he had left, he wouldn't be held up the same way. And if you want a prime example of it, go and look at Kevin Keegan. Kevin Keegan was incredible for us. He's one of the best, if not the best, English players of all time. You can't deny the incredible impact he had for us. But he went to Hamburg, won 2 Ballon d'Ors, in case anyone's forgotten. And isn't seen the same way. Like Kevin Keegan won 3 league titles, 2 UEFA Cups, and a European Cup with us. And off the back of a season where we won the league and the European Cup, he decided to go and try something different. Going to Hamburg. And he doesn't get talked about the way he should either. So it's not like a modern thing. It's not a recency thing. It's just always been that way. It's always been that way. And people will always say the grass isn't greener when you leave Liverpool. There's been players that have gone and done great. Kevin Keegan is one. McManaman's another. Suarez is another. Mascherano's another. Alonso's another. Players have left Liverpool and gone on and thrived and had more success, either individually or in terms of team awards, than they had at Liverpool. But there are some examples. Like Owen, it didn't work out for, but injuries was the biggest factor there. People will obviously say Coutinho, and that's fair. But ultimately, Phil got to go and live where he wanted to live, won a shitload after he left, made money that would make your eyes water. And yes, his career didn't descend to the level that maybe people thought he could get to. But from where he was when we bought him to where he was when he left, that was more than was expected. Like a lot more. Nobody thought the kid we were buying for 8 million who hadn't worked out at Inter Milan would one day be leaving for 147 million. Nobody thought that. So maybe Coutinho did peak. He just peaked with us. Maybe he did hit the highest level he was capable of. And maybe after that came a decline. Similar to what we've seen with Dele Alli and Marcus Rashford. Maybe he played too much too young. And ultimately, we sold him on the slide regardless. You know, people again will point out Torres. Torres left injured. It's not that he went there and flopped because of his footballing ability. Torres' knee was cooked when we sold him. But people will always point to those examples of players that leave and it didn't go great for them and ignore the other examples. Like a Suarez, a Mascherano, an Alonso, a McManaman, a Kevin Keegan, etc., etc. These are all things that Trent is going to have to figure out. But it's going to have to be figured out real soon. We are coming up on 2 months from when he can sit down and sign a piece of paper declaring his intention to join Real Madrid in the summer at no fee to Liverpool. Same goes for Mo, same goes for Virgil, but there's a lot less talk about them. There seems to be more confidence that they get done. Nobody in their inner sanctums has been going around the city calling them Virgil McManaman or Mohammed McManaman. But Trent's brother has been. So, I don't know. This is a rambly way of saying, I think if he wants to win a Balon d'Or, his best bet is to re-up with Liverpool. And even if it's the thing that he signs, let's say, a 4-year deal, but in 2 years, there's a release clause that kicks in for one club and one club only. And it's 60, 70, 80 million, whatever. Fine. You want to go to Real Madrid in 2 years? Absolutely no issue. If you wanted to go last summer, no issue. As long as you take care of the club that's taking care of you, that's given you everything. And you've given a ton back. Nobody's taking that away. But ultimately, without Liverpool, there is no Trent Alexander-Arnold. Without the people that worked with him from childhood all the way up, there is no Liverpool. If Trent goes to a different club, let's just say he has terrible luck as a young fella and he signs on whatever. Trent never becomes a right back if he goes to Everton. Never. He likely becomes a right-sided midfielder or maybe a central midfielder. And he would be very good in those positions. He would never have been as great as he is as a right back. Those clubs would not have had the vision, the bravery, or the coaches to do what Liverpool did with him. And I might laugh at Pep and Linders on a frequent basis because I just don't think he's suited to being a manager. But there's no denying his ability as a development coach and the work he did with Trent. There's no denying he is absolutely as good as there is in the world in that regard. He saw the vision. He sold that vision to Jurgen. He sold the vision to Trent, possibly with the idea of eventually we'll move you back, which they obviously did try to do. But no other club would have done that. No other club. He wouldn't have become the player he is without Liverpool. And Real Madrid wouldn't be interested in him. You know? If he was just a very good right-sided midfielder, if he was a right-footed, a slightly more talented, or a more talented, but a right-sided version of, let's just say, a Dwight McNeil, who's got, you know, a good crosser, good passer, good ball carrier. If Trent was a right-footed version of him, which is a path his career could have gone down without the development work at Liverpool, he'd be a very good player. He wouldn't be on Real's radar. He just wouldn't be. Anyway, right. There's loads of other stuff on This Is Anfield ahead of tonight's game. They've got the 10 things to know. You've got, obviously, the Brighton double-header that we're facing, how Brighton got to this stage. They knocked out Crawley Town and then beat Wolves. Team news, we have no Chiesa, no Jota. Conor Bradley, it seems, will be in the squad, but not ready to start. Yaros in the squad. Starting 11 prediction. Okay, they've gone Kelleher, Gomez at right back, Quansah, Van Dijk, Tsimikas. That's probably the best way to go, because I think I would rather rest Trent and Ibu, because I think Virgil's a bit more robust. Midfield, Endo, McAllister, Szoboszlai. I don't want that to be the midfield. Salah, Nunez, and Diaz in attack. Again, I don't want that to be the attack. For Brighton, they have quite a few injuries, actually. Let me just jump in here. No James Milner, which is a boost for them because he was not particularly good last year and is just older now. No Adam Webster, also a boost for them because he's been absolutely diabolical this year and last year. Matty O'Reilly not back yet. João Pedro not back yet, but potentially for the weekend. Lewis Dunk is expected to miss out, and he should be back then for the weekend. Yankuba Minta expected to be fit, but whether he's fully fit's another question. Still no Solly March. Hopefully we get to see him back soon. Just whenever a player's out for this long with an injury, you do start to worry, and he was playing the football of his life. And it looks like Jack Hinchelwood then is good to go ahead of tonight as well. He's obviously a talented young midfielder. Jayden Danns obviously would have been the other striking option for us, but he's not available. Hopefully he's back soon. So yeah, there's a bit about Darwin and the number 9. There's a look at the numbers. Cody Gakpo has scored the most. Cody Gakpo and Diogo Jota scored the most goals in this competition in the current squad. Curtis Jones then in third. We go straight to penalties if there is no winner in 90 minutes. Darren Bond will referee the game. It says we haven't had him referee a game for us before. That seems odd because he was a Premier League referee. So I'm made to assume he's been demoted. So I haven't seen him. I'd actually thought he had retired, to be honest. So it looks like he's been just refereeing in the Championship and League One and such. That's probably the right level for him. Follow the match on This Is Anfield. Henry Jackson will have their live watch along, commentary watch along. If you want to check that out, we'll go to AnfieldIndex.com. I'll leave it to yourselves to check out the other main Liverpool websites. I've just rambled enough and I've probably bored you all to tears. So for those of you who are still listening, AnfieldIndex.com, Arna has talked about the need for a rotation tonight, but not quite having enough to do as much as he would like. There's links to Victor Gyökeres, potentially for the summer, maybe. I wouldn't be against it. There's a predicted 11 for tonight. There's a piece about Fabinho talking about the contract situation. There's a piece on Trey Niani. I wonder if he might be, involved in some way tonight. Then podcast-wise, there is the latest Scouted, which is Carl and Guy talking about the very sad news of the sacking of Erik ten Hag, which may become even sadder news if they appoint Amorim, because they'd finally have a competent manager. And it looks like it is trending that way, but we'll see. There is a new Under Pressure, of course, with Dan Kennett, Cy Brundish, Hamza and Bart. There is a pre-match press conference, which is Arne Slot talking ahead of the game. And that is it. That's all I have for today. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm not on Raw. It's Guy, and I'm not actually sure who on Raw tonight because I've been away and haven't been paying any attention. But I'll be back tomorrow, so I'll speak to you all then. Take care. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.